Hello, Zimbabwe. Welcome to another episode of Hashtag Know Your Constitution, a program being brought to you by Junior Court Council in partnership with the Zim Daily. My name is Bridget Mambondiani, and I'm your host. Today, I'm being joined by Donald Jose. Sir, please briefly introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Donald Jose from Midland State University. I'm currently Party 2 social work student, and I'm also a human rights activist and a peer educator under SAYWAT.
Thank you. Welcome. So today we are going to be looking at Chapter 12, Part 3 of the Constitution, which speaks about the Human Rights Commission. So, Donald, could you please explain to us what is the Human Rights Commission, like its composition?
Okay. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, it's a national human rights institution which is established under the Section 242 of our Zimbabwe Constitution. And it's composed of 8 people, including the chairperson of the body, which is being appointed by the President of Zimbabwe.
Okay, before I go any further, just to my understanding, like you have highlighted, that the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission is appointed by the President of Zimbabwe. And I understand that to it there are also some other requirements, such as the person having done law. Do you think that the appointment procedure, as it is set in the Constitution, is effective to the functions of the Human Rights Commission?
Yeah, on that one, I believe it's effective because the appointment procedure constitutes of the person should have been in the legal practice for about 7 years. Okay. So the person, in that sense, it means he has got knowledge about human rights.
Okay. Do you happen to know who the current chairperson is?
Yeah, I think he's Elasto Hilarious Mukwandi. He's been elected in, I'm not sure, but it's 2014, yeah.
Oh, okay. That long?
Yeah, I think he's the one who is still on the...
Does the Constitution provide for any, like, the tenure extent?
Yeah, but I believe it have got consequences that the tenure will be extended.
Oh, so it can be extended upon, after certain realizations. Okay, so moving on, what are the functions of the Human Rights Commission as is written in the Constitution?
Okay, firstly, its main mandate is to promote, protect, and enforce human rights. So on that, according to our Constitution, its first function is to promote the respect of human rights and freedoms for all Zimbabwean citizens. And the second one, it talks about the promotion of protecting, assessing, and enforcement of human rights. So in this case, we are saying it is therefore to put public education and awareness to Zimbabwean citizens so that they will be aware of their rights.
Okay, interesting. You mentioned 3 very powerful concepts: to promote, to protect, and to enforce human rights in Zimbabwe. So we are going to start at protection. Do you, as a citizen of Zimbabwe, feel that the Commission is doing enough in terms of its mandate to ensure the protection of human rights of the Zimbabwean citizens?
Yeah, to some extent, I believe it's doing its mandate, but I believe it's not effective to the extent that each citizen is feeling that he is being protected by the ZHRC. It's being limited to offer its services as the ZHRC. To some extent, there are some issues that it cannot address fully. For example, there will be issues of the Patriotic Act 2023. On that issue, the ZHRC, it might need to stand for the citizens, but it is being limited because to some extent it should go back and report to the parliament, of which the act is being enforced by the parliament.
Now, this is why I then asked about earlier on the procedure and appointment, because earlier on you highlighted that these chairpersons and these people are being appointed by the president himself. And later on, the same committee has to go back and report to the parliament. And if it happens anyway that the protection of human rights is not being accorded, right, they take the matter back to the parliament. What would be your comment on that scenario itself?
On that scenario, I believe the ZHRC should stand on itself. It should be independent from the government so that it can offer its services fully. Because if it happens that it's also going back to report to the parliament, there are circumstances that it will be limited to the extent that it cannot offer its services as it is.
Okay. And I think the topic of protection of human rights in Zimbabwe is very critical, especially in this time and date whereby we have had a lot of political, social violations on human rights, be it in the health sector, be it in the economic sector. I mean, what are the gaps within the ZHR itself that are, hindering it from fully safeguarding the protection of human rights?
Okay, firstly on that note, it should be independent and have its autonomy. That means it should stay away from being governed by the government or the parliament. So on that note, secondly, it should also collaborate with other NGOs and other organizations that deal with the human rights so that they will share ideas on how best they can address issues that are being causing the violations of human rights on a daily basis.
Okay, interesting. Now we are going to move on to promotion. So we have done protection. We are going to move on to promotion. And earlier on you highlighted that when it comes to promotion, it's giving people that information, letting people be aware of, their rights that they have. Has the committee done a good job on that?
Yeah, I can say it's trying its best on that one because we can see that it's engaging the public education and public awareness on human rights, where it can sometimes conduct campaign awareness, where it educates people about their rights, issues like the respect of human rights. Everyone is being taught to respect each and every person's rights. So on that one, it's trying, but to some extent it's not effective because of that gap of being limited, because there are some of issues of human rights violations that in the process of promoting them, they are being restricted to some extent so that they can't deliver the right message to people.
Would you say it's a misconception to say that certain individuals and organizations that work to promote human rights are perhaps anti-government? Would you say it's a misconception or would you say it's a reality?
It's reality.
How so?
It's reality because according to our constitution, these commissions they're supposed to abide with the rules being wrote in the constitution, right? So there is no way they can divert from doing what they want, because if they want to operate under the government of Zimbabwe, I think they should abide with the rules of the Zimbabwe.
Okay, interesting. Personally, I would say that it's a misconception to believe that just because I'm educating people about their rights, I'm then anti-government. Because I want to believe the commission is an arm of the government, and it is its mandate as much as it is also our mandate as citizens to ensure that we make sure that people are aware of their rights. I would also want you to comment on the education system in Zimbabwe. Do you think that it is also effective in promoting human rights awareness?
On that one, it's kind of tricky because I don't know about in tertiary education. We can say education is playing its role in promoting human rights, because in tertiary education we have clubs and some small organizations within the school which work together to promote awareness on human rights, to educate other students. For example, there is this club which I'm into, which is called the Students for Liberty.
But then I would want to believe that's now like civic society coming in to enlighten people, not necessarily the commission or the government or the education system itself. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I would agree, but it's through education that we have knowledge that we should fight for our rights.
Okay, fair enough. We are going to move on to the last element, which to me is quite critical, the enforcement of Human Rights. So please explain to us, how do you feel that the enforcement of human rights in Zimbabwe is?
Yeah, the enforcement of human rights in Zimbabwe, I believe it's quite, I can say it's quite debatable, because the rights are being enforced, the rights to the people, but now its protection and like, what can I say, kuzotedzerwa kwazvo is a difficult part, I believe, because we can enforce the rights, like everyone has got right to freedom of expression, for example, and then on reality, is that right being respected?
So theoretically, we have Chapter 4 of the Constitution that states your freedom of expression, right to access information, freedom to petition the courts and stuff. But when it comes to the actual action on the ground, you are of the view that we are not being afforded those rights as they are stated in the Constitution.
Yeah, that way we are not given the chance to enjoy those rights, I believe.
Okay, so as a young person, what would you say are some of the suggestions which the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission itself and the government and the citizens can actually take so as to ensure that we have the protection, the promotion, and the enforcement of human rights?
Okay, firstly, I would love to make sure that every citizen or every commission that looks after the human rights protection, it should make sure that when it comes to public awareness, they should include every citizen. Since human rights are fundamental entitlements that are given to everyone, despite of or regardless of color and stuff. So in this case, I believe it should include everyone. It should be inclusive for every citizen. So in this case, if we include every person and we educate them about human rights, that person will also go back to the community and also educate other people about those human rights. Because some of the people, they just hear about these human rights, but they are not aware that they have the responsibility to safeguard their rights. So I believe there should be a public education which is transparent, which is effective, that it will reach every citizen.
Interesting. You bring out very, very key things there to say, you need to know, number one, that you've got a right, but it's also your duty to safeguard that right. Otherwise, knowing alone and not doing anything about the violation will not really be a solution to the problems that we are facing. But anyhow, you brought out the issue of inclusivity. And I would also want you to comment on, like the enforcement of human rights, especially on vulnerable groups, such as people with disabilities, such as women, such as children. Just give your brief comment on that, because I understand these people are like more victims because of their vulnerabilities.
Okay, thank you. On that one, I believe these people are subject of violence of their rights. So in this case, I believe on issue of inclusivity, we should also engage them in issues to do with human rights education, so that they will feel that they are part of the opportunity to have these human rights. And so in this case, I'm saying we should make sure that whenever we are conducting human rights campaigns and human rights education awareness, we should include them. Because if you look at vulnerable children, they are, for example, those children from remote areas or from marginalized communities, they suffer because they don't even know what is it to have a right. So there is need to educate them more and include them whenever we do human rights educational campaigns.
Okay, thank you very much. So as we round off, what would be your last comments in relation to the discussion that we just had on the Human Rights Commission?
Okay, I believe it's not only the mandate of the ZHRC to promote, protect, and enforce human rights, but it's also our mandate as citizens to make sure that our human rights are safe, are being promoted, everyone knows about the right. We should not just leave it to the commission or to the government. We should act so that we realize and we enjoy our rights.
Thank you very much. I will not dilute his words as he says that it's not only the mandate of the Human Rights Commission, but also to us as citizens to ensure that we are effectively engaging to ensure that there is protection, promotion, and enforcement of our human rights. This is it from us, Junior Court Counsel. Until next time.